Hey everybody, we're back at the backyard river for day 2. As you can see, the weather's changed a lot. It's blue skies. You don't have a lot of the cloudy clouds that we did here, or the rain clouds, but it's okay. We're gonna kind of go with it, which again, this is a learning experience. So usually we'll do it all in one day because the weather here is one day it's snowing and one day it's sunny. So but I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I also moved the camera a little closer. I know you can't see all this beauty, but it's okay. We'll get some shots for you. So the colors are a little different today. Not too much, but like I said, we'll kind of go with it. We've got this. All right. So once your sky is done, you're going to move on to the next part. That's what we have this ugly line here for, right? So we'll move on to the next part, which is the trees in the back. Even though it's a bright day, it's because they're far away. And plus they have a dark green anyway. Since they have all these branches coming out, it creates a shadow, which is what makes them somewhat dark. Okay, so again, if you want to make the dark clouds on your sky, or you can keep it nice and bright and airy, it's totally up to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for those trees. So those trees are a dark green. Now on my palette here today, I did bring some green out. So I'm cheating a little bit with some forest-like green and some brown. If you don't have forest green or brown and you only have your primary, you're gonna mix yellow and blue to make green. And you'll, add a little more yellow if you want it lighter. If you want it a little darker, you'll add some green. To make the forest green, I can add a little brown or a little tiny bit of red. That'll give me that forest green. If I want to darken it, I can add a tiny little bit of black. Don't need that much of the dark colors. Or I could add some white if I want to make it a lighter color. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go for a few of those trees in the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to make like a dark, kind of like a black green. So I'm taking my forest green here and I'm adding a little bit of black to it. Right? So a little black. So it's a pretty dark green. As you can see, it's black with some green to it. So if you can get a shot of this color here that I made. So you can see this is like a forest green with, I added some black to it. So it's pretty dark, and I'm even gonna get darker and do another little section that's really mostly black, but it has a little green mixed in. So you've got those two. Then I'm gonna go ahead and go, so you're just making a lot of greens right now. I'm gonna go ahead and make a lighter green. So here's my green. Like I said, you can either make it or I cheated and bought it. I put some more yellow to lighten it up a little bit. Right? So there's all these different types of greens. I know I still have a little black in there, that's okay. Okay? So you can make a few more if you'd like, because you're gonna have to, and then I can make an even like a yellow green, which I've got here. It's mostly yellow with a little bit of green. Even gonna put a little dab of brown in there, if I can get it. Here we go. It's like a brownish green, brownish yellow type of green. And that's for some of our, as you can see back there, you can kind of see all these colors in the background here. So we're gonna go back to this next shot, or this next part, which is you're gonna use your black and your dark green for those pine trees in the background, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and switch out my brush for something a little smaller that I feel comfortable with. I go for an angle brush because it's really cool, because you can do a very skinny line, or you can do a very thick line if I'm going this way. So it can act as a thinner brush. So that's what I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna take some water, I'm gonna make it like an inky texture. Right? And I'm gonna go with that dark green, and I'm gonna start putting some pine trees back there. So I'll start with the cluster in front of me. So I go ahead and make some branches coming up like this. I mean the trunks, I'm sorry. Some are gonna be taller. These are ponderosa pine trees, and they're really skinny and tall. So got a few, they're right next to each other. Pretty close, they kind of sway in the breeze. So we're gonna start with marking them here. And I've taught you how to do pine trees before for any of you that have attended. And since living here, I've noticed a lot of differences in different types of trees. So I'm pretty excited about noticing a lot of these differences. Like I said, that's the exciting part about all of this, is that we can really focus and see what's in front of us instead of what's on a picture. Pictures sometimes won't do it justice of what we can see in front of us. So here I'm just kind of placing my trees. Again, yours don't have to be like mine. I'm just looking at what's in front of me to get a little inspiration, and mine are different. They're not going to be exact. I could sit here and take 48 hours plus to try to make it look exactly like Mother Nature's, but it's not going to do that in the time frame that we have. So we're going to go and do our version of it, our ode to Mother Nature. Paint some trees here. Okay, so I have quite a few back here. There's so many really in the background. We can add a few more as we go. So again, I'm going with some of that darker green. This was like a black that I got here. So I'm going ahead and making like a darker green. Like I said, that black and green together. Add a little more water. Let me get this mark part, sorry. And what I have actually noticed about these pine trees is, if you can even get a shot of them out there, is these ones kind of reach upward or to the side. By reach, I mean their little arms that stick out the branches, and then the pine needles at the end. They don't go down like some of the firs that we were painting before. They reach all over the place. You know, some of them have points and some of them don't. It's really different than what I was teaching before, which was a different, more of like a fir. So go ahead and follow me on this. So what I'm doing is, since I've got my branches here, and some of them even have like a double branch going like that, we're going to go ahead and start pointing upward, because a lot of them are. And see how I'm just dabbing? So I'm using an angle brush. You can use a rounded brush, might be better for some people. But what's really cool about this angle brush, it kind of looks like the pine needles. And again, it's like a stamp texture. Now, I don't want it just to look like a lot of us do, half pines here, half pines there. It's not a cactus, so we want to actually give it a three-dimensional look, which means I'm going to throw some in the front of this trunk here. So there's some that are facing me. And then I go to the side and I kind of reach up. The ones that are in the front, you can kind of do them every which way. So you're going to do quite a few like this, and they do still get a little heavier at the bottom. So you just do it a little thicker. Now, you don't have to be touching the trunks. That's the thing, is you don't have to always touch the trunk. You want to pull out here and just make it fluffier at the end. And then I can shape it however I want. Now, a lot of these don't have that. The tall ones don't have an exact point. The smaller ones kind of come in a point. So this taller one, I'm just going to kind of add a couple things like this. It's not so much a point as it is a little hat. Pine tree just came down the tree, almost tried to kill me. Or a pine tree, a pine cone. Okay, so again, here's a smaller one. And this one does have a point. And so we just give it a little point. And notice how natural I'm doing these. It's not ever going to be like a perfect triangle. And again, I'm going in front of my trunk so that I don't really see the trunk. It just pops out here and there. Some are little, some are big. As I get to the end, they kind of reach up to the sky. But as I get to the bottom, they start fluffing out a little bit. Just start bringing them out like that. And we're going to cover this line, so don't worry about your line. So go ahead and go through and add those pine trees, and then we'll be back for the next part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Singing is perfect. Good job. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Okay, so one thing I forgot to add is we want to actually take some of our black and we want to add little bits of black in those pine trees. Why? Because that acts as our shadow. So see, we have some black, little bit bits. I'm just kind of low with the low lights. I'm adding these little low lights in there, kind of following a similar direction. Just a little bit, real thin. You don't want to, a lot of us kind of go a little overboard once we start adding black. I see people go, oh my goodness, I changed the whole thing. You just want to add little bits in there. I have a little bit of darker green on this side. And then some of the green's gonna pop out on these ones a little more, and then they're a little darker here. It's no big deal. They can be different colors. All of them are that I'm looking at here. So as I get to the end of these some of these trees, I'm noticing a lighter green. And what that is that's a sunlight. And so it's like a yellowish green. That yellow green I made, I could take and just add towards the tips, close to like where you would think the sun would be shining in. So not only do you add that black, now you're going in with some highlights and you're just adding a little bit of light green. So you've got that dark forest green that you darkened with that black. You've got actual black, and then the closer, like this is right by the sun, I'm gonna add a little bit more. You know, you don't have to be all scientific about it. You could just add a little bit of highlight now. So now I'm adding these little bits of highlights over the low lights I just added, which were black. And I'm not, you know, completely covering the whole thing. I'm just adding a couple, you know, I'm kind of making it even and where I'm adding them. Mostly at the ends, I'm noticing. So, okay, so these are the finished pine trees. I'm actually gonna add one more here because it bugs me when we don't cut them off. If it's too perfect and it cuts off right before the end of your canvas, it just doesn't look very realistic. So I'm adding this one, and honestly, you can add a lot more. There's a ton out there. There's so many that we only see the tips of them. So you can add more if you want. Even as the painting goes on, you could kind of add little bits of them here and there. So there's a lot here that are layered. Some are right in the front here. Again, that's just up to you, how many you want to add. We can really go crazy and get to exact what we have in front of us. Here's one thing I will tell you, like I'm doing here. This one that I'm putting in front, it's going to be more of the lighter color than the darker colors. And so that gives it some depth. So notice I'm starting with the light color, and then I'm going in and I'm adding the dark color. But it's going to be lighter. That's how you're going to be able to tell it apart. So that's right in front of you. So now I'm going in with a couple little bits of black. But the tree itself is, you know, more of the light color that I'm adding. You can even add a little yellow on the ends. Everything's starting to turn here to fall. So there we go. So if you do want to do a few more in the front, that's completely up to you. You can even add a little bit of a pale yellow, and that pale yellow will act as a lot more sunlight, which I'm doing right now, on the front of your tree. So, and you just do little bits, not too much. And then I would go in with that. And again, you can add that to the ends of some of these trees in the back. That's just saying here's some really pretty sunlight coming through. Again, you know, there's a lot of that here. The sun is reaching through the clouds. So this little pale yellow is an extra highlight you can add. I like to do it, you don't have to, but it really just comes together, gives it like a little kiss of sunlight. And the ones in the front are going to have a little bit more. Again, they're going to be lighter. Okay, so I've got my pine trees in the back. So now we're looking at our brush. So if you could see all that brush, there's all kinds of it. The deer always pop out through there. So again, we're going to do a quick version of that. So we're going to start with a light green. So go ahead and make yourself a light green, kind of like a yellow green. So give yourself a little more yellow in that green here. So you can see I'm doing a lot of yellow. So mix it in, some green. Actually going to get a little more yellow in there, and some brown. Okay, so we're going to start with that light color first, kind of like a green, brown, yellow. Okay, so we're going to start just shaping our brush, and then you're going to go in and do the same thing, the highlights and the lowlights. That's what a painting is. It's full of all kinds of stuff. I'm going back for my angle brush, just because I prefer that. But here you might want to use a rounded small brush. small brush, I mean something kind of like this. You know, that might be easier too for some of you. And you just start scribbling pretty much. Here, because I'm seeing that it's blending in with my trees, I'm actually going to make it a lot more yellow. Let me grab some yellow. So I'm going to grab some more yellow. And I'm actually going to come in and just go to this corner right here and make it dominantly yellow. And then I can go in and add some stuff. So it's like a really yellow green. Again, you're probably a much neater painter than I am. So yours will come out a little bit neater than this. So it's a yellowish green. It'll pop more in front of these things here. So I'm going to go ahead and go in. Again, you can use a smaller, rounder brush. I can use my angle brush for everything pretty much. And I'm just going in and doing all these little dots. And some of them, because we see some twigs hanging out of the dots, we'll get there. For now, we're just going in with these little dots. This is a brush, and the brush kind of it's like little pieces of little cotton balls or something, but it also comes out a little bit too. It's a little messier than cotton. We're now going over our line here. So little small dots. You're going in circles, like little rounded dome-like things. Some are going to be bigger, some are going to be smaller. And this is just... So some are going to be bigger, some are smaller. You're doing these dome-like things, just dabbing them different directions, and you're going over this line here. If you don't cover it completely, that's okay. Okay, so I'll let you go ahead and work on that. So, it's not just a straight, I keep saying lake, it's a river. Backyard river. So we'll start here, and I'm going to come down a little bit more. Maybe to right here, just a little bit, and bring it out, come back in, and this way again. Kind of has a curve to it. Now I'm also going to do the foreground grass, which will go like this. You're kind of just following that. At this rate, my bench is going to be a little cut off, which I'm actually kind of liking the look of right now. Because I want to get that little river in there. And then I'm going to come out this way, because I'm going to have a lot of brush right there. Okay, so that looks weird, I know. So after we add these little bits, I'm going to take that weird green yellow. Again, if it's starting to change a little color, you get a little bit more green, it's okay. So I'm just dabbing to give it texture, to fill that in. Okay, and again, instead of just painting and coloring in, I really do want you to try the dabbing, because that gives you some texture to it. Okay, and I'm just doing that till I fill it up, even kind of going upward to the part I already added, because we don't want there to be a line. Notice the bottom's a little thicker, so now the top that I added looks like the fraying branches coming up. So I could go to a bigger brush if I was using that tiny brush at first, and the bigger brush will allow me to fill this in a little quicker, so I'm not there for hours and hours on end. So I'm just filling it in. So go ahead and fill this part in and this bottom part in. Video that I thought I was recording, so in case I don't have it, I'm just going to walk through it. So what we did with the river, I added a little bit of light brown. So you want to use a lot of water when you're painting bodies of water. So I added a little light brown, kind of like this color, and I just went in little streaks, not coloring it all the way, but just like little streaks like this. A darker blue and a lighter blue, and they're just little strokes like this. Small little strokes. You know, I dip my brush in water, and I'm barely touching the canvas. I'm just sweeping. So we're learning how to do all these techniques. So my brush is already running out of blue. which is good. That's what I want. It's just kind of tinting it and also moving it along to look like water. Okay, so that looks like a flowing river. What we're also gonna add, now we're adding a little bit of a reflection. So down here, when I look at the water right now, I see like a greenish yellow. That's just kind of, you're just gonna dab it with a lot of water on your brush. And that's just a reflection of some of this greenery that we've got going right here. Doing that little bit of green right on there, okay? So you're just adding a little bit, and that's the reflection. Even a little bit of yellow, that's also the reflection of the water. There we go. And we're even gonna come in with some white, and this is actually the reflection of the clouds. Whoop. And just real light. And sweep it through like that. I'm barely touching the canvas, I'm just kind of sweeping it on there. I actually put a little too much, you could put a little less. So this is what I'm seeing when I'm looking in the river, okay? And at this point now I can go ahead and add little tiny, you could take a tiny brush. Again, I'm really comfortable doing everything with my angle. And you can even add like a really, really pale blue. It's mostly white, with just a little bit of blue. It's just so it's not so dominant. And you're just gonna add little ripples in there throughout. Some parts sparkle a little more, that just means the sun's on them. So just add that throughout your river, okay? Remember, there's no right or wrong way, it just means the sun would be hitting it different, or there's a tree that's causing shade. So your river, there's nothing right or wrong about your river. If one person's looking a little bit more swampy, that's okay. If you want it to look a little more blue, just add some more blue. But then these little tiny lines are the sparkles that I'm seeing too. Okay, and so I'll let you keep layering on your river there. If you want to, again, if you feel like, oh, I need more blue, I want a blue river, just make a light blue and add some more blue in there. So however you want to do it, your interpretation of it. So we'll get a shot of the river for you so you could kind of see all the colors that I'm seeing here. And I am sweeping over with some blue over some of these colors. So you can take some water, some light blue, and just go over what you just did. Really lightly, don't blend it all the way. I'm just barely kind of doing little light strokes, barely touching the canvas. And this will kind of give that river a little bit of that more of a blue tint to it. Again, so that was a big bummer right now. It just stopped recording for whatever reason, just to give me a hard time. So I had a minor freak out, but it's all right, we'll get through it. So through your lake, again, you just got little strokes of color. So I'll kind of show you. After I got all those little strokes of browns and I got my reflection in there, I let it sit for a minute, add some water and some blue, and I just go through it again. And what that water and blue does, it kind of brings it all together. It starts giving it more of like a bluish tint. So it looks more like water. I'm going with a lighter one than I'm going with. So that's a lot of water, a lot of blue. But I'm still keeping all of those other colors in there, those browns, the whites, the reflection color, okay? So after I get that river in there, I went in and I took some yellow, and now I'm adding like little lines of grass. I know we got some of that video as well. Upward like this, some going this way, that way, and you're gonna put them all throughout pretty quickly, throughout all these things. So some are skinny, some are a little fatter. You know, again, you can use a skinny brush, and it's actually the quickness you lift up at the end that's going to give it the look that you want. Okay, so some of these are actually going to be smaller than what I'm doing here, and especially when you come up close, you're going to throw some hanging over the river like this. Again, if you use a skinnier brush, sometimes it's easier for this kind of stuff. And I just kind of come up, some are kind of going over the river, going from the river, and you're just adding that at the edge of the river and upward. And you don't have to fill it up. You can do as many as you feel like doing. Right? So here we go. Going and adding all going and adding all this. So you're going to do this with each color, with your yellow, your green, and your brown. And you're going to do that until it looks right to you, okay? So I'm starting with yellow, which is a highlight. Then you can go ahead and go to green or brown. I would say actually go with brown next. Then once you put the green over, it's the dominant color, which looks good. So go ahead and add your yellow throughout the top and the bottom. same here, when you get close to the river, you just kind of go over, especially on the bottom, you're going to go up. So don't stop for the river, okay? Go ahead and add that. And so that yellow, especially at the ends of my river here, I'm going ahead and adding little lines that are coming over the river of grass. And remember, grass isn't straight up all the time. Sometimes it goes to the side, different directions. And it's actually that lifting up at the end that makes it look like grass. So I drive myself crazy and I go through all of them just adding accents. Again, you don't have to do every single little blade. We're kind of doing a scribbly version. That way we can get it done before next Sunday. So, lost a brush, but that's all right. Okay, so I go back in with my yellow and I fill that in. You know, some of the lines are going to be big, some are going to be small. So hot today that my paint keeps drying on me, but it's probably a little more comfortable. So all the pains of learning how to do this outside in Oregon's unforgiving weather or in the unknown weather, I guess I should say. It might start snowing right now, we never know. So I go off to the edges of the river and I just go over. And again, I'm adding it to all parts. You can add a little bit bigger in certain areas. Okay, so we have little bits of grass coming up. And I'm just kind of filling this up. Some are going to be smaller. If you have the patience, go ahead and make a few of them smaller and more like in view. So I'm going to do this with some brown, different color greens, and even a little bit of black. And that black, again, is just like the shadow of the grass. So you kind of do it towards the bottom. So I'm going to go in with some brown and do the same thing. Excuse me. So the brown, I'm actually going to mix with some yellow. So a yellowish brown, and I'm just going to kind of go through, add little bits of grass on the top, and you're just adding these little scribbly lines all over, every which way. I can even just add little blotches of brown. So here I am going with brown. You can add some green, and again, not all of it has to be grass like this, like strokes that take forever. You can actually go in and just add like a little, especially if my brush is dry, just kind of adding some brown in there. So that's kind of like, ladies, when you blend your eyeshadow, except this has no shape, it's just a scribble. And it's that getting that chalky texture on your brush. So how that is, I'm not adding any water, just going for that brown I added. You can even wipe it off on something, and it just kind of adds as a light color, almost like a pencil. And I'm just shading it in different places. The brown kind of appears in a nice little line across the way. So I'm just kind of shading that in. But in some places I'm going to go ahead and add bits of grass and even some small ones close to the river's edge, or the lake's river's edge. Oh my goodness. Now I'm just adding it throughout. Same here. So I'm just adding that to the bottom. So I'll go ahead and let you do that. Add some brown. And you could go back with green, but actually mine is looking good without going back with green. The bottom I might add a little green. I don't think I'm really needing to at this point. Again, if I feel like I'm running out of some brown, I have a little dry brush, I can just add the blotches, really get a shortcut in there of adding some brown touches. So again, I'm not adding much water. You could add a little water, even with the dry brush, and just sweep some of that brown through, kind of like you did with the lake. You're making it a transparent type thing. And I'm just going in real quick with that brush. And then also going back and adding little pieces of grass. So, you know, it's kind of like you're wiping your brush off on something. Okay, so that's a lot of browns. Then I could go back with different yellows, greens. It all depends on your patience that you have. How many different types of yellows you want to add, how many different types of browns, black and gray, I mean, different kinds of greens. The more and more layers that you add, and different sizes, the small ones, the bigger strokes, the different shades that you get. So the more shades you add, the more layers you add, the more realistic it's going to look and the more professional it'll look. So So I'm just coming and adding little highlights, little bits of grass, and just little, even just little dabs of color. So pretty much a real fancy way to scribble. So I'm even adding some dabs in there. So there's really no wrong way to do this. You just don't want to be too neat. And now I'm adding some yellow back in front of that brown, and it's just layering and layering. I do my best to explain this layering, but really it's all in you. And every time you look at it, oh my god, I messed up. You never did. It just means you need more layers. That's all. So here I am, just adding more yellow. Now I'm going to take this green I've got and even throw a little bit of green in here. And then it's, like I said, it's up to you. When are you done? When does it look right to you? If it doesn't look right, then you're not done. And you just need to add a little bit more. See how I'm just actually dabbing some green on there? I'm not even adding strokes anymore. I'm just scribbling some green throughout there. But because of those grassy strokes I added, I can do that because we've already got that texture. We've already got that feel of grass in the wind. So I can add that if I want. I could just go ahead and scribble some green in there. So pretty much this is what we've got so far. You know, it's really coming together. So the last step is the bench, which I'll give to you right now. So the bench is going to be a little bit cut off, which is okay. It's actually a big style. A lot of photographers are doing that right now, where they have like the bench or the front of the boat cut off and you just see the scenery. And what I really like about that is it kind of reminds us how much bigger nature is than us. We have like our little bench or the little canoe in the front, and nature is so much bigger, but it's our version of experiencing it. So here we have the wooden bench. So that's going to go at an angle because it's from the angle that we're at, yeah. And so we're also cutting it off as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get that bench started for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a brown color, okay? Let's go ahead and start with the light brown, okay? So light brown, you can either add white or you can add yellow and white, or you can just add yellow to it. You lighten it with the yellow or lighten it with white or both, which is, I'm doing both because the yellow gives it a warm tone. But I'm seeing that this bench has a little bit of a cool tone to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. It doesn't really matter what color you want. Just make a light brown you like. Okay, so here I am going to making that light brown. Okay, again, you're probably way neater than me. I'm getting rid of some of the excess paint there. And again, I use my angle brush for everything. You don't have to. Now this bench from my angle here is going almost, oh, I think I saw a little duck. Yeah, I think I did. Okay. Or something in there. Let's hope it was a duck. So I'm going to go ahead and start wherever you want your bench. You could do it off to the side, in the middle. I'm going to do mine to the side like it is here so I can get the angle right. And remember, I don't have to just go, whoop, I hope I make it. I can, little by little, build up that bench to the angle that I want. And it's kind of an angle like this. And if you get an angle that's different than mine, it just means it's a different, you're standing somewhere else. There we go. And then we bring it back down towards me again. You copy that angle on the other side. Then here, I got to make sure that I can see that little bit there, which we'll add that detail after. Okay. Then to get the bench, starts right about here. Down this way. All the way down. And same here. We got our bench, but it's a little bit straighter. This angle, I got this little bit of wood coming out here, this wood here, and this angle is a little different. Excuse me. There we go. So now we got our weird bench. So go ahead and color in what you just did. Make sure you don't color in the green that's in between these two. So color it in. Add some water to give it an inky texture. Do it a little faster. Right? Okay. All right. So I got a little bit dark, too dark right there. All right. So here comes the burst of wind. Okay. So now that I've got my bench outlined, I'm I'm gonna add all the little details. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a darker brown. So I can either mix some black with it or just if I already have a darker brown. So I mix black and brown to make a brown kind of like that. It's totally up to you. So now I'm gonna get the little edges, which are here. There should be, and that's just like the edge of the table there, right? This part's a little darker. This is just the leg. So, see what I mean? So we have these two dark colors. And also, we're not seeing that angle. We're gonna do like 3 little lines here, or 2 lines, I'm sorry. And that just is the little pieces of wood that we see there. Again, this isn't gonna be super realistic, it's for fun. There we go. And you can add a little bit of that dark brown just in little pieces throughout the bench too. So on this bench, we're gonna even add like a little angle like that of dark brown. There we go, on the top. And I'm gonna go in and add a couple more pieces of wood. Remember, they don't have to be perfect. I know we have a couple perfectionists joining us, I'm sure, and you're gonna wanna make it that way. Quick way to add a little bit of wood texture is just a couple little loops, little streaks that aren't straight. Think of like little eyes or something. So a quick way to add some texture to it. You do some smaller, some larger. Now, if you ever did want to sign up for lessons, we would get in way more detail than we do for some of the paint nights. Paint nights are to be fun, but also leave with a really cool looking painting. So the style we go for is a little more of a laid back style when we paint. If you really are like, I want to know how to really do some serious wood grain and other stuff like that, you can always sign up. And your lessons would be like this, but in smaller pieces. And we would do one thing at a time. So if you're interested, let me know. And same for these benches. If you want to do wood grain, just add a couple little dabs in there, or little lines. Okay, now I'm going to take my white, mix it with a little yellow. So like a pale yellow. And I'm going to add some highlights throughout this. So I'm going on the side here, just to remind me where the shape of the, just like little lines like this, the shape of the bench. Okay, just to remind me where everything is. I'm also going to take some white, make it chalky, wipe it off. It's okay if it's a little gray, mine is gray. So you're kind of getting this dry brush with white. And I'm going to go through and kind of go in between the boards and just add little bits of that. That just lets me know that it's worn, a little bit of worn wood. Because this bench has withstood snow and all kinds of things. So I'm actually just kind of throwing that white in. So as you can see, again, not the most detailed bench, but you can go ahead and keep layering. Okay, well, I'm going to add a little bit more dark brown here to really let them know that that's separate from the bench. That's all up to you. And again, if you do want to get in more detail, we can do that with lessons. Okay, last but not least is our little boots. And those are easy and they're fun. So I just go ahead, take a really small brush and some brown. And you want to make it a different kind of brown than what you used on your bench, so. I'm lightening, I actually added some red to my brown, there we go, because these boots, I haven't used my red yet. And these boots have like a red tint. So it's like a red brown. And I am just going to make the shape of them. Actually, let's go ahead and put them closer to the edge so we could see them. What that would look like to me is that somebody took their boots off and jumped in the river. So we've got the top part like this and the boots like this. So the bottom half, I'm going to do it with white so you can see on the camera. You don't have to do it with white though. So the bottom half goes like that and your boot is going to look like that. It's like a weird half heart, half top of California shape. And then you do the other boot is right behind it, less shaping on that one. Goes a little higher, like that. So you color that in with brown or your red brown. And you're kind of just going to do the same thing you did for the bench, where you're going to add some black, like a highlight or a dark color, to trace, not completely trace it, but to add it, like that. Like to kind of trace it a little bit, like that. Once I add that in there, I'm going to go ahead and take some white for the flippery part of the boot, and just add like a little top part, almost like a, not a circle, but where the hole would be to put your feet in. And you just dab like a little mini thing like that. And the more that you trace these with different colors, I can even go in with red. Kind of add like a red tint to it. I'm going to go over with black on that, or brown. You can see the difference from the bench. And if I put black right under them, kind of act as a shadow, you can really see the difference. So if I let that dry and I go over that with black, it'll look a lot better. So I have my boots here, not looking much like boots. I'm gonna take this black and I'm gonna make it really skinny, like a little pin almost. And I'm gonna just kind of outline my boots here. But since it's so dark and my bench is a little dark too, I can also go around that highlight with yellow or white, a lighter color. When you start layering them like this, that's when they really come out. Okay, so you don't have to add the boots too, that's completely up to you. So I'm going to take a little yellow and just go, come here and go next to the black or over the black, so that that stands out as well. Okay, so that's how we're going to do the little boots in front. And in the middle of that white, I'm going to add a little gray or brown in the middle. Just looks a little more natural as far as the boots. Okay, and this is the point where I can go back. I can add any little details that I want. And you're pretty much done. So thank you for bearing with me. I learned a whole lot doing this outside. Paint dries much quicker outside, so I would just have to do little dollops. Having a little stand up here next to me to get that easier. All kinds of fun stuff. Today we forgot the brushes and we forgot the water bucket. So we went back for the water bucket, came back, and realized we forgot the brushes. So there's a lot of fun learning experiences today. But thank you for joining us. So here's the completed version of our painting. We'll get a nice shot of what we're actually copying out as far as the landscape. Like I said, I learned a lot of different things from being out here, so I appreciate all your patience and all your support. It continues to help us do all the amazing things that we're doing. We're still going to DCFS foster youth and helping the teens paint and learn. So any artists who want to volunteer, anyone who would like to donate items, they're very much needed. So everything that you do as far as your donations and even your support, if that's all you can give right now, it matters so much, because your support and you're posting it and you're tagging OTB Arts, that gives us more people knowing what we're doing. So we appreciate it so much. Thank you for bearing with me. Today was quite a learning experience. I forgot my brushes, I forgot the paint bucket. What's it called? It stopped filming out of nowhere. There's all kinds of fun things, but I really do appreciate you guys you know, waiting for me to get this done and showing an interest and being so supportive all these years, and still supporting me even though I'm so far away. So I appreciate it. So thank you for joining us, and remember to post what you painted. So anybody who donates or posts their painting, you get raffles. If you do both, you get extra raffle tickets, and you'll be entered in a raffle to win the out of the box holiday box that will be delivered to you. Lots of fun surprises and unique things to do in there. So make sure that you enter, and we'll see you next paint night. Thank you. As always, thank you guys for supporting Out of the Box Arts. If you have any suggestions of places in Central Oregon that you would like painted, please message me or post them on our page, and we will get to them, I promise. So thank you so much.